Welcome back. During the break, we asked you which scale is used to determine the strength of a hurricane. The answer is B, the Saffir-Simpson scale. The Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale classifies tropical systems based on their sustained wind speed. A tropical storm becomes a hurricane when the sustained winds reach 74 miles per hour. The scale ranges from a Category 1 to a Category 5, with Category 5 storms being the most intense. So, the higher the category, the greater the potential for property damage from winds. Now that we know how tropical systems are categorized, let's head to one of our most vulnerable areas here in Acadiana for both wind and water, the coast. That's where we find meteorologist Grace Lim for more.
Thanks, Scott. Near the Louisiana coast, the biggest threat to life and property isn't solely the wind. It's the water the wind pushes ashore. It's called storm surge, and the effects can be deadly. One of the biggest dangers during a hurricane is storm surge. It sweeps cars off the road, swallows up homes, damages everything in its path. On a typical day at the beach, tides go out and tides come in. It's caused by the gravitational pull of the sun and moon. But during a strong storm, such as a hurricane, powerful winds move around the storm and push water towards the coast. The water rises rapidly. The water on top of the tide is called the storm surge, and it can rise as high as 20 feet, even higher in some cases like Hurricane Katrina, record storm surge reaching 30 feet, causing extreme flooding in the coastal areas. One thing to remember, a hurricane's category doesn't directly determine the storm surge. A large, slow-moving storm can cause more devastating storm surge than a small, fast-moving storm. A new map from the National Weather Service shows storm surge from a worst-case Category 3 hurricane. It drowns the entire bottom of the boot and north to Lafayette and past the capital city. This emergency evacuation map is a great tool to know when your location should evacuate. Phase 1 in the red is the extreme coastline. Residents there should evacuate 50 hours before onset of tropical storm winds. This area is outside any levee protection system and very vulnerable. If you live in Phase 2 in orange, areas south of I-10, they are levee protected but still vulnerable. Evacuate 40 hours before onset of tropical storm force winds. And finally, Phase 3 in yellow, areas on the east back of the Mississippi River in the New Orleans metro area. Evacuate 30 hours before onset of tropical storm force winds. The best way to survive a storm surge is to leave before it arrives. So if you're ordered to evacuate, it's a good idea to do so sooner than later. News 15's Taylor Trichet has more on evacuation routes and how to prep your home for a storm.
Austin Perkins, president of St. Landry Lumber Company, says he sees a number of items fly off the shelves whenever a storm is forecasted to come to Louisiana.
Supplies such as OSB, plywood, and so on and so forth to board up their windows and doors on their houses.
When a storm is brewing in the Gulf, proper precautions for the outside of your home are equally as important as food and water. In articles from Money Talks, AccuWeather, and FEMA, there are some key things to remember to do when you're storm-proofing your home. Check your roof for leaks and seal them up before a storm hits. If you have trailers or sheds, there are even straps to anchor those. Next thing on your hurricane prep to-do list, safety-proof your landscaping by trimming trees and shrubs. Patio furniture, hoses, barbecues, anything that has the potential to be airborne needs to be brought inside or anchored to the ground. Storm shutters are also important.
If you have a window break, of course you're going to get the rain and the wind in your house, and you don't want that.
There are many ways to shutter windows and doors, and there are also many types of shutters.
Basically just the plywood, because they're just going to discard it after the storm anyway, so they want something, less expensive.
If you decide to make your own hurricane shutters, grab your tape measure, and you want to measure the height and width of your windows starting at the rough edges, and always be sure to round to the nearest inch. Evacuation routes, sandbags, and reinforcing garage doors are also things to keep in the back of your mind. For a detailed list on making your home storm safe, visit our website, kadn.com. Taylor Trichet, News 15.
Thank you, Taylor. Although we know that the coast is often the most susceptible to the direct threats from a landfalling tropical system, the impacts extend well away from the coastline. For that, let's head over to meteorologist Jordan Sandler for more on inland impacts.
Yeah, here in Abbeville, we're 25 miles inland from the coast, but during Hurricane Rita, part of the city was left under 9 feet of floodwater, and the flood threat is just the beginning. Even if you live 100 miles away from the coast, you're still not safe from a tropical storm's deadly effects. In Hurricane Rita, winds remained at severe levels all the way into northern Louisiana. The Mall of Alexandria's roof partially collapsed during Gustav. Straight-line winds can uproot trees and turn them into missiles, sometimes falling through homes and too often killing people inside. In addition, tropical storms are known to spawn several tornadoes. During Gustav, an EF2 tornado killed 2 people in Mamou, 150 miles inland from where the hurricane made landfall. And don't forget the rain. Tropical storms can easily drop 10 to 20 inches in a short period of time, creating situations similar to last year's historic floods. Even after the storm passes, trees and power lines leave roads blocked, and entire parishes can be left without power or running water for up to 2 weeks. Given the widespread threats a hurricane poses, it takes a large coordinated effort of disaster relief. For more, let's check in with News 15 reporter Philip Boudreau.
Headquarters 51.
We're actually preparing all year round.
The Lafayette Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness is always thinking disaster. For a hurricane, Homeland Security Director Craig Stansberry says they are in constant contact with federal officials.
They'll be on standby for us. We can probably tell them what we need. They can start gathering that supplies or manpower, and they have it on the ready.
Preparation shifts to action as the storm makes landfall.
All the officials that are responsible for Lafayette Parish will come to this room.
From this point on, it's all about coordination.
They're sitting next to each other, across the table from each other, so they know what the other one's going through. They can talk to each other and make the best decision as a group.
Stansberry says every agency is ready to respond to a hurricane, and the public should be too.
Things that really help the first responders and also help the government officials is when the public's prepared. When they are able to react in the best manner that helps protect them, that really benefits us.
But Philip Boudreau, News 15.
Now that you know some of the impacts that you could face during a landfalling storm, the key is, are you prepared? If the answer is still no, you'll want to stick around, because coming up after the break, we'll have all the tips and tidbits that you need to keep you and your family safe.
And don't forget about your furry friends. We'll help you make a disaster plan to keep your pets safe.
But first, it's trivia time. Which of the following is the most serious? A, tropical storm watch. B, hurricane watch. C, tropical storm warning. Or D, hurricane warning. We'll have the answer right after the break.